Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about solving rational equations. Rational equation is an equation that has one or more rational expressions, or fractions. Now, you might have learned some techniques in previous sections or previous courses in order to handle some of these strategies. Today I'm going to show you one of these. Now, what you see here is a bunch of fractions. In these cases, we see 1, 2, 3 fractions. The first thing we're going to want to do is try to find the lowest common denominator of all of the fractions, no matter what side they're on. So I want to look at 6 as a denominator, I want to look at x as a denominator, and I want to look at 15 as a denominator. And we want to find the lowest common multiple of those. Now, I've attached a previous video to your lesson to help out with that. So I'll go through this a little bit quicker. Now, when I look at this, one strategy we can do is we can say, well, 6 is really 2 times 3, which is prime factorization. X is really just x. And 15 is really just 3 times 5. The LCD is going to be every factor you see. So I see a 2. That better be a part of the LCD. I see a 3. That better be a part of the LCD. I see an x. That better be a part of the LCD. And I see a 5. Now, that's not the only thing. You notice how we have a 3 here and a 3 here. When you have different factors of 3 and different denominators, we want to take the highest power 3 that you see. Well, I see 1 here and 1 here. So the highest power that I see is just a 1. We're not going to add these up. So we really want all these to the first power. If I multiply this out, what I'll get is 30x. And that's going to be my LCD. Now, if you remember back to adding fractions back in middle school, you want to get all your denominators to be 30x. So I'm going to turn my first denominator into 30x and ask myself, what do I have to multiply 6 by to get 30x? Well, I'm going to have to multiply 6 by 5x. So I'm going to multiply my numerator and denominator by that 5x. Well, 5x times 5 is really 25x. Minus, what do I have to multiply x by to get 30x? Only thing I need to multiply by is 30 on the bottom, but also the top. So minus 1 times 30, or minus 30. Equals, what do I have to multiply 15 by to get 30x? I have to multiply the top and bottom by 2x. So the numerator becomes 16x. You might say, well, that makes things a lot more complicated, except if you look at this, all of the denominators are 30x. Some teachers and some professors will say, just have to cross those out. But what we're really going to do here is multiply both sides by 30x. Everything, well, 30x times this divided by 30x, the 30x will cancel out. Matter of fact, if I multiply 30x by each one of these, the numerator of 30x will cancel out with all these denominators. What you're really doing is eliminating the denominators by multiplying both sides by the LCD. That gives me just 25x minus 30 equals 16x, which turns out to be a pretty easy equation. So if I subtract 25x from both sides, I get negative 30 equals negative 9x. And when I divide by negative 9, I get negative 30 over negative 9, or if I reduce this, I just get 10 thirds as our answer. And that's the solution to this equation. Let's take a look at a couple others. Here, if I look at these denominators, what would my denominator have to be for all of these to have the lowest common denominator? Well, a, 3, and 6a. My LCD better have an a in it. My LCD better have a 3 in it. And this one is really 2 times 3 times a. Well, I already see the 3 is accounted for here, and so is the a. So that's already accounted for, so is that. So the only thing we're missing is we need to have a 2. So the LCD is really 6a. So, what do I have to multiply the numerator by and the denominator by to get 6a in the denominator? I only have to multiply the top by and the bottom by 6. Well, 6 times 6 is 36. Plus, what do I have to multiply 3 by to get 6a? I have to multiply the top and bottom by 2a. Or 4 times 2a is 8a. Equals, what do I have to multiply 6a by to get 6a? That's right, nothing. So I'm just going to bring my 4 down. Now, if I take and I put this 6a on both sides and I cross it out with all these denominators, you're left with just the numerator, or 36 plus 8a equals 4. Subtract 36 on both sides, and I get 8a equals negative 32. And if I divide by 8, I get a equals negative 4. Oh, that was nice to get a nice answer. Sometimes you'll get fraction answers, sometimes you'll get nice answers. Let's take a look at one more. Might look a little bit different because we have this binomial in the numerator, but still look at all the denominators. We have a 2x, we have an x, and we have a 4. Let's find that LCD. So 2x is really 2 times x is really just x, and 4 is really 2 times 2. So I know I need to have a 2 in the LCD. I need an x. Is that it? Well, here's one thing we have to think about. There's 1x, because there's 1 in each one of these. Here is 1, 2 in each one. We actually have a second 2 here that we have to think about. Because there's actually 2 to the second power in this, we have to make sure we have a minimum of 2 2's here. Or the LCD is a 4x. So now, if I put my 4x in the denominator of all these fractions, and ask myself, what do I have to multiply 2x by to get 4x? I multiply by 2. So 2 times, now be careful here, this is a binomial, so we have to put that in parentheses. Okay, what do I have to multiply x by to get 4x? Just 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. And what do I have to multiply 4 by to get x? Just x. So I get 9x here. And again, look what happens. I take and I multiply by 4x on every single term in, boom. All the denominators go away. So I'm left with 2 times x minus 5 plus 12 equals 9x. A nice, simple linear equation that we need to solve. So we distribute our 2 through and get 2x minus 10 plus 12 equals 9x. Combine negative 10 and 12 together. 2x plus 2 equals 9x. Get all the x's onto one side by subtracting the 2x on both sides. 2 equals 7x. And if I divide by 7 on both sides, I get x equals 2/7 as our final answer. So the goal with these rational equations, again, is finding out what that LCD is so that you can get all of the fractions to have the LCD and then end up canceling those out. Hopefully this helps you out. Please make sure to reach out to your teachers if you have any questions.